Oh, hi, Ashley.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, girl. I'm so good. Yo, haven't talked to you since high school. How are you?
That was 11 years ago, which is crazy.
That's so weird to think about. Like, we're adults, you know?
We're adults. And I went to the reunion and
Did
it was,
you?
oh yeah, that was bizarre. It was so weird, but it was so good too at the same time.
Wait, you have to tell me about it because I missed it. You didn't see me there, I bet. So,
I didn't. Okay, so I'm gonna fix my audio really quick just so I can hear you. Okay.
okay.
It was so you know how you think that you know what's going on in everyone's life just because of social media?
Yeah.
You don't. Like, we only post the highlight reels on social media, so it was really good to catch up with people and see what was actually going on in their lives, and it was good. I'm really super glad I went.
Wow. Wait, Ash, is your phone like on something? I think the microphone is maybe like, I don't know, hitting some. Can you lift? Yeah.
Is
I
that
think that's,
better?
yeah. Oh my gosh, I can hear you so good.
Okay, good.
Did a lot of people go? Like, did it feel like South?
No, it was very small. I wish it would have been a better turnout, but I stayed in Kitsap County, so I get to see a lot of those people like at the grocery store or just in life. So I get to see a lot of people that I wouldn't normally see. But it was it was small, but it was super good, very intimate.
I love that.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
it was.
how are you? We're adults. Now we have our own babies who are like, I don't know. Mine's really young, so I haven't even like thought about, like her going to school, her friends, all of that stuff. So tell me about your life. Just catch me up. Tell me about where you're at, your babies, your family. I want to hear it
Yeah.
all.
So I'm a single mom, unexpectedly. It's been about 2 years now. I have a 7-year-old who I love, was not planned. We got pregnant about 6 months after we had been together, and he is hands down the best thing that ever happened to me. So he's 7, second grade, fantastic, old soul. I'm obsessed with him. And then we were trying for a second baby and we got twins. So I have a 7-year-old and then almost 4-year-old twins.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things I want to talk about, but I definitely want to talk about the twins because something that my husband and I joke about, it's like my time is so consumed with the one baby. So we're like, what if we had twins? How do you, the breastfeeding, the time, the sleeps, the time management in motherhood is something that I'm just trying to figure out. And
Yeah.
each time I think I have it figured out, like at least once a week, I'm like, I got it down. I got the naps down. I got the thing down. And then it changes. It changes because they're growing. Things are happening. The time, like it just does it. You just don't figure it out. But I don't know. When I see, like you said, when you see those highlights on social media, you're like,
Mhm.
they have it figured out. Like that girl's doing it. And so with twins, and you don't have to talk about your personal relationship if you don't want to, but
And
I'd
book.
love
We
to
can
hear
talk
how
about
you're handling it.
anything. We can talk about anything. So twins, I love my children, but I don't wish twins on anyone. Twins was like, I don't know if you experienced this when you had your baby, but I feel like we black out, like full on blackout the first couple months of motherhood because it's very overwhelming and you're just in survival mode. So, and it's kind of like you have to do it no matter what. So you just keep going. Like you just go, you roll with the punches, everything happens and you just do it. So I think that I have a lot of people reach out to me and say, it looks like you have it all figured out. And the truth is, like, none of us have it figured out. We're just kind of going. And I always say, we spin until we fall asleep and then we wake up and do it again. And
I
it's
like
just a
that.
constant whirlwind of chaos. And we just take it as it comes and then we go. The twins were, I guess we can start from the beginning. When I was found out I was pregnant, I was so excited. I didn't have to try for very long. I'm very lucky in that. I know a lot of women don't have a similar experience, but we were only trying for like 2 months. And we went to the ultrasound tech and I said, look, babe, there's the baby on the screen. And the tech looked at me and she said, well, actually, there's two. And I
Wow.
looked at the kids' dad and we just started laughing hysterically because I am a planner. Like everything is I own a business, everything is planned to a T, and I was not expecting twins. So I started laughing hysterically. Then we cried. And then, yeah, we had twins. And that, I look back now and I don't know how we did it, but I think when you're put in a situation where you have to make it through, you just make it through. And I feel like that's motherhood as a whole, whether you have one child, two children, three, like you just survive and you make it through. Motherhood is really freaking hard and you just have to push through. So
it's so silly because am I coming? Hello? No.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Silly enough, I've only met one person who, it was this girl, and she was like, I want twins. And I was like, you are so brave.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have babies yet. So it wouldn't be like her second, third, like it wouldn't be like having more experience. She wanted from the beginning. She's like, I want twins. And she's been looking forward to this. And that's what she wants. And I'm just like, you are just so brave because it's so much effort and so much emotion and just constant, almost sadly worry. Like you don't want to worry because you don't want to like think anything bad, but you worry because you're just like, well, from the beginning, you're just, at least in my hospital, they were like, here's all the things that could go wrong. And they just like weigh you down with these expectations of all the terrible, morbid things that can go wrong. And you're just, then they're like, just sleep when the baby sleeps. And you're like, I can't sleep because now I'm worried that like, what if the blanket's here? No blankets. What if this is here? What if she didn't wake up? What if she ate too much? What if she didn't eat enough? What's the like, and they kind of just like drop you off and like let you go. And I feel when I was
baby, you've never been a mom, go home. And you're like, what am I supposed to do? And like my twins came out at 4 pounds each.
Oh my goodness.
So you're these tiny human beings. You're responsible for them. My twins are in the NICU for 10 days, I think, which is a blessing. That is way shorter than anybody has ever had to experience. But those 10 days those were the hardest days of my life. And then they send you home with 4-pound babies that can literally fit into doll baby clothes. And they're like, good luck. And you're like,
how do you do that? How did you handle it? Did you stay with them then at the hospital during those 10 days?
I did. So we went to St. Joe's in Tacoma, and they don't have sleeping for moms. So there are 2 rooms that you're allowed to sleep in, but it's first come, first serve. And you have to like basically battle it out for them.
Hunger Games, but for moms.
Hunger Games for moms. And your twins are literally, so I'll just talk about my birthing experience if that's okay.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear it, girl.
So I worked until the day I pop. I'm a working mom. So I was in my office having a conversation with my boss. I went for a routine NST non-stress test. And they're like, well, you're in labor. You're having contractions. Are you not feeling them? And I'm like, no, I don't feel anything. Like I'm totally fine. And they rushed me to the hospital. My significant other at the time was working and he does construction. And I'm like, hey, I don't think I'm having these kids tonight, but just so you know, I'm at the hospital. Someone needs to get our oldest son because Oakley was 3.5 at the time and he was at daycare. So, I'm like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm not having these babies. They told me I wasn't having the babies. I was just having contractions. And then all of a sudden the doctor rushed in and said, hey, you're in labor. We're having an emergency C-section tonight.
That day, like you're just at the hospital checking in and they're just, you got to do this right now.
Right now. So my fiance is in Silverdale. You're from here. You know what I'm talking about. Silverdale to Tacoma is like, a 45-minute drive. He gets in the car, dirt covered from head to toe because he was working. The twins were born in January. You know what Washington Januaries are like. So
yeah,
he's completely covered in dirt. I'm like, they're literally cutting me open. We're having a C-section in 20 minutes. He gets to the hospital in like 15 minutes. So he was speeding all the way to the hospital, walks in the moment they pull out a knife. So I have an emergency C-section. And mind you, with Oakley, my oldest, I had vaginal normal birth. So no idea what to expect, whatever. the whole NICU team is in there because my kids are 8 weeks early. So they're 2 months preterm. The NICU team is in there. They cut me open, and Dashiell was supposed to be first. So when you have twins, there's a twin A and twin B. Okay. Twin A is closest to the cervix, so that's the one that's supposed to come out first. Twin B is the second one, so they're supposed to come out second. Lila, my daughter, in true fashion, she throws herself out first. So Lila now twin A. And so to see, there's like probably 25 people in the room with me because, I mean, they're preterm. They're going to be early. So all of a sudden, it's pure chaos. Twin A, twin B, boy, girl. Everyone switches sides. Now we have twin A as the girl because Lila decided she was going to come first. So Lila throws herself out. Twin A, twin B, boy, girl. Everyone's switching sides. So it was pure chaos. They hold Lila up to me. They say, here's your baby. Andrew's in the room covered in mud from head to toe because he had just left the construction site. And they say, okay, she's breathing. We're taking her. Gone.
Did you get skin to skin? Or did they have to?
No. And, you know, I had a normal vaginal birth previously where Oakley came out. I held him and everything was perfect. Twin B, Dashiell comes out, he's not breathing. We're taking him. So I didn't get a hold of my twins for 24 hours after the birth.
Oh my God.
It was pure chaos. They were on CPAP machines. They were completely hooked up to wires. Everything was. So, yeah, that was the birth experience. And, you know, when you
God.
Baby, you're kind of out of it. So I was completely out of it. C-section was insane. But I think that moms are super strong in that you don't really think about yourself in the moment. Like my sister had a C-section. She said it was the worst experience of her life. I don't remember any of the recovery. I don't remember feeling any pain. All I could think about were my twins being in the NICU. And the NICU nurses were fantastic, but that was my birth experience. And so it was very, very bizarre. Very bizarre.
And it must have been such a difference, especially with the first one being just vaginal birth. You were prepared for it. You knew what to expect. Less people in the room and everything kind of almost going by plan.
Yeah.
And then this was just thrown at you. I mean, getting that news that you're going to deliver right now, 8 weeks early, then the twin switch, there's a whole group. I mean, I literally can't imagine. I would have a panic attack.
Yeah.
And then your babies are taken away from you, which makes sense because like you want them to be taken care of. You want them to be well. But it just hurts your heart, you know, not being able to hold your babies.
So the first time I saw them, like actually saw them, like I slept through the night. Like I wasn't able to move because I had just had like a C-section, and I don't feel like people really talk about this. It's major surgery. Like they literally are cutting you open and pulling something out of your womb. Like no one talks about this. So any mom who's had a C-section, any mom who's had vaginal, and I will tell you, Lily, if I were to do it again, the C-section recovery was easier than the vaginal birth, honestly.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like because you don't have to deal with like the tearing or everything that comes along with it. So hindsight, like I'm thankful that happened. But at the same time, like it was pure chaos. I didn't see the babies until the next day, and seeing your babies for the first time being hooked up to heart monitors and CPAP for breathing tubes. Like I have photos of holding them and I look back on it and I'm like, I don't remember because like I said, you black out that portion of your life. And B, it was crazy. It was chaos. But we did it and we made it through and they're okay.
Of course. But I mean, I'm sure you were also under heavy medication because there's just, I mean, it's a major surgery that's going on. It hurt. And then so after that, since they had to spend 10 days there and you had to fight for a bench to sleep on after a surgery, like that just seems so sterile. I know that's what it should be in a hospital, but like it just seems so.
It was I don't want to say, I don't know how to explain it. It was almost like you go into, you know, mama bear mode.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I'm staying here. I don't care what you say. I am sleeping here. I'm not leaving my newborns here. Absolutely not. someone took Oakley. My sister took Oakley, which is I'm so thankful for. I actually sent my significant other away. I was like, let me handle this by myself. Both of us can't sleep here. Go take care of our toddler, because Oakley was 3 at the time. And I stayed there. I slept in a chair for 2 days. And it just, you just do what you have to do. And I feel like that's motherhood as a whole. So it was very much a sequelae for what my life was going to look like moving forward. You just do what you do. You do what you have to.
It hurts. Like, hearing your story hurts. The fact that like it seems like it was normal for everyone in the hospital. All the nurses, all the people. I mean, I'm sure they, they felt bad for you, or they had some sort of emotion, which neither here nor there. Like, you're in your own mode, but like, that's so unfortunate that it has to happen like that. And it seems like it was normal for them to go through that. I don't think it's okay for the babies, for you. I mean, I understand it for everyone's safety and benefit. I'm not disregarding that. It just seems so robotic, like inhuman. You went through it. It's hard to express my feelings because I don't feel bad. Like, I'm not like feeling bad for you, but I feel bad that you had to experience your birth story like that, especially with twins. I mean, it just seems like surprise after surprise after surprise is just thrown at you to test your limits. I mean, the way you come out is so strong. But it's unfortunate that you had to go through that, because pregnancy on its own is already hard. Pregnancy with twins is double. How was your pregnancy with twins before this commotion had to happen?
Yeah. I'm super open about the pregnancies because, we went to high school together. Like, we're used to being a certain way, like skinny, fit, whatever. I had already had a baby, so like my body had already changed. And with the twins, I really enjoyed my pregnancy with the twins. I really did. I had a business. I've had my business for almost 10 years now. So I just went about life as normal as I possibly could. But I was so sick with the twins. So sick. Like, TMI, but I was throwing up and peeing my pants every single time. Like, that was just a standard day for me. The pregnancy went really well. Like, I wore heels until the day I had the twins. Like, I was in heels and a dress the day I had the twins. And
that's such an image. I'm sorry. Like, that's what is that show? I Love Lucy, I think, where she's like in feathers and heels and like in the garden. I feel like that was you with like your legs up, but the heels are looking good. So you're still looking fine, but like going through this chaos, which I guess maybe in some way could help you as well. Because sometimes when you dress up and you're like, you get yourself ready, you are ready mentally. And so maybe that was something that actually helped you along.
Totally.
But it looks so funny in my mind.
I think that people don't talk about going through pregnancy the second time, because when you're pregnant the first time, everyone kind of flaunts to you. At least that was my experience. But the second time, they're like, oh, girl, you've already done this. You got it. But you don't got it because you're older. I was 3 years older than when I had Oakley when I was 22 years old. Like, I had no business having kids, but a 22-year-old body is much different than a 26-year-old body. And so I was older, and I also had a toddler at the same time I was pregnant. And how old's your baby? 6 months, a year?
She's going to be a year next month. So, but I can imagine, I've heard stories that at 2, 3, they're just going and you're running after them and they're doing things and they're spilling and they're tumbling and then they're hitting something and then you're constantly going. So you're just time consumed on that. So well, you don't really have time to be sick.
You don't really have time to be like, oh, I'm pregnant, like you don't have the time because you have a whole other life that exists outside of your pregnancy. Whereas with your first pregnancy, all your effort and energy is focused on that pregnancy. So I also had a 3.5-year-old at the time. And I talk about the age difference often with people. I feel like 3.5 was like, and there's never a right time to have a baby, right? A first baby or a second baby. But 3.5 was just enough difference for it to really matter, because Oakley was very aware. He very much still needed my attention because he's 3.5. He very much was aware that I had babies plural in my stomach, which was also hard when they were born, that not only are we adding another baby that takes all my time, effort, and energy, we're adding two babies. And
How
for
did Oakley
him,
feel about that? Like knowing
you
that
know,
not only are you adding one family member, but two more babies, you know, I've heard that the older kid often may feel like they're being neglected or they're going to be put on the back burner. They're no longer the baby of the family. And now this comes not only one, but two as this, you know,
yeah.
it's a lot to process for anyone, but I would imagine, especially a 3.5-year-old.
Yeah, so Oakley took it very well. Oakley was very much my helper. And I didn't recognize until recently. Now he's 7 and they're 3 and they're going to be 4 in January. So I didn't notice how much it made him grow up. He
Wow.
grew up very quickly. He very much took on a parent role with the kids. And it kind of makes me sad because I missed out on a portion of his childhood because I was so focused on twins, like nursing twins, making sure the twins were okay. They were in the less than 1 percentile when we brought them home.
Oof.
And so, like, trying to make sure that they were fed, but then also, hey, hi, you have a toddler too that you're responsible for. That was very overwhelming. And I didn't, like, looking back now, I think that Oakley had to grow up really quickly, which is sad for me. But also, he's a great big brother. He is fantastic. Like, Dashiell, so boy girl twins, and Dashiell wants to be Oakley through and through. And
Mm.
fantastic big brother, super protective of his sister, very much engaged with his brother. And honestly, Lily, I never wanted children. So coming from never thinking I was going to have kids, my sister had kids when she was 19.
Well,
So I watched my younger sister go through childbirth twice once, and then we were pregnant at the same time with our 3-year-olds.
that's
And
kind of fun. Well,
it was
I would assume, I don't know, would it be fun with your like sister and you're just like, let's pick stuff out and like take the picture? I don't know. It seems fun.
I actually got to experience being pregnant with 2 of my best friends at the same time. So Oakley, my best friend from college called me, and then I called her back, and we were both calling to tell each other that we were pregnant. So my
Wow.
boys with my best friend, they're 3 weeks apart. So I got to experience it with her. Chell, I think you probably remember Chell Thuring. Her and I were pregnant at the same time with the 3-year-olds. So, and then my sister was also pregnant at the same time. So having someone
Wow.
go through the experience with you is very helpful. And you kind of get to just, not
Just
commiserate, but
events.
commiserate sometimes. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's important because then you're just at least I mean, everyone kind of says they know all this stuff like, oh, your feet might hurt, your back might hurt, but just to tell someone like, you know, I'm feeling sick today. I'm feeling
Mhm.
this way, I'm feeling that way. And to hear that they understand that are also dealing with it. It's kind of like, I'm not in this alone. Cause I think a lot of times motherhood can just feel so alone. Like you have people around you, but it just still feels really alone. And so to have somebody who's right there by your side, kind of going through it, it's just that support that I think every mom needs.
I 100% agree with you. And I was the first person out of my friend group to have children. And the loneliness that I felt because I was 22, everyone was still like in there. I'm figuring out what I want to do with my life stage. But now I have this baby and people are still partying and going out and doing all the things. And I was 22 with a baby, and the loneliness was consuming. I will say that. It was very, um, I had postpartum both times with the twins. So
Did you?
yeah. The first time was, um, it was very dark. You have this idea of how your life is going to go, and then you have a baby. And there's so many books, there's friends, there's family, you have your parents, but no one can really define what motherhood is going to do or how it's going to change your life until you're actually in it. So we can talk about it all day long. We can read as many books as possible, talk to our parents, talk to our moms, but you don't actually know until you're in it how it changes your life. And my kids are the best thing that ever happened to me, but I have to constantly remind myself that I was someone before I was their mom, and trying to keep a hold of who you are while you're going through the early stages of motherhood or even the latest stages of motherhood is very overwhelming. And it's also very humbling
Yeah.
because you just don't know what you're getting into. And I actually had a friend reach out to me when she had a baby 5 years after I had Oakley and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry I wasn't there for you when you had Oakley originally, because this is hard." And I'm super glad I had them very young, because I feel like I get to play with them and experience things with them as a young mom. But I also feel like there's certain things you miss no matter what age that you have your children. And I love my children, and every mother's different. My kids are not my whole life. I also have a life outside my kids. I have a business. I have friends and family and girlfriends and things that I do often. And everybody chooses to raise their kids differently, but I choose to raise my kids in a way that I still have a life. No matter how selfish that sounds, I think that if you fill your cup all the way, you can fill other cups after that. So
Absolutely. I think that's the most important part, is making sure that the mom is happy and
mhm.
it has boundaries. It doesn't mean like, oh, well, I really love going to clubs every day and like that's not it. It's more
Yeah,
of like fulfilling the things and still pursuing the things that you want to, because if you neglect those passions, those dreams, those things that make you happy, it will in turn come out on the kid, because you will start holding resentment, and the kid has done nothing wrong. They are so innocent. But I think if I ever seen examples of like moms or dads kind of not lashing out, but like being short with kids because it seems
mhm.
like the kid is inconvenienced. The only time that happens is, you know, if you didn't do what you had planned to do, now the baby's an inconvenience because you have to take care of them instead of doing what it is you need to do. So if you can continue making yourself happy, back to the whole plane, you got to put your mask on first because you have to survive to make sure you can take care of this baby. So you
Exactly.
put that mask on first. You do what you need to do to keep yourself going. Because
Hmm.
if not, you'll hit depression. And
Yeah.
then you can't take care of your babies. You can't even get up out of bed, and especially postpartum. I have a few friends who hit the postpartum depression really hard. Like it was really difficult for them.
It's not
And
something to talk about, like, in society. I hate it.
I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea at all, not until after I started talking to some people, and then they had actually had a name for it. And I was like, what are we talking about here? Please tell me more. And everyone hits it different. Like, nobody, it's weird because motherhood is part of literally everyone's life because we are all born.
Hmm.
Yet, at least for me, when I was looking at things, checking things out, hearing stories, it was like social media. You hear like the good things,
Hmm.
and it's those highlights and those reels of like everything is great, and you see all these moms taking these cute photos, and you're just like, wow, they're really doing it. But like
Yeah.
the grossness of it through pregnancy and delivery, I knew about, but like not into the extent that it actually went to. And postpartum depression, it's hard to be vulnerable and tell people like, hey, I'm really down right now. I'm in a really dark place. I need help getting myself out of it. Like to be that vulnerable to begin with is really hard. And also not knowing that others have gone through it. So it's like, am I the only one that feels like this? And then mom guilt comes in. So you're just like, am I a bad mom
Uh,
for feeling bad when I should be ecstatic? And you just go into this roller coaster and no one talks about it. And so you just feel, again, it's feeling alone. And then you don't want to be vulnerable because you're like, I don't want to tell people I'm not handling this well. I'm doing great. And then inside you're just like, I just need to shower because I need to cry for a little bit
or
because
scream. Yeah.
yeah, like you're just like, I just need a second to like restructure everything. But it's hard. And it's so hard because nobody talks about it. At least
Mhm.
in my surroundings, it's just I literally didn't know that it had a name to go through these feelings and the morbid thoughts and the negative things that happen afterwards. Like so when they were happening to me, I was like, am I a bad mom? Like,
Yeah.
why do I feel this way? Why? And then you feel bad because you're like, I know I don't feel that way. I know I love my baby. I want to be with my baby. Like, why is this happening? And you're torn inside. You're like literally torn, which causes more stress and anxiety. And then you're just like, I don't even have time to think about this because I got to go take care of the baby?
Well, I think that I learned very early on that I wasn't a Pinterest mom.
I like that. Okay.
I just I just accepted that fact very early on, and I had a lot of friends around me who had babies. You know, my best friend had a baby at the same time I did, and she was very much she stopped her teaching job and stayed home with her son, and she loved it, and she's very much, you know, baking and like doing all the things and like very much a Pinterest mom. And I compared myself to those moms who had everything just so. Meanwhile, my kids had Lunchables for dinner last night, and I had to like be okay with that. And so once I accepted the fact that every mom parents differently, some moms are working moms, some moms work part time and stay home with their kids, some moms stay home with their kids full time. We're all doing our best.
Yeah.
And that's literally the only thing we can do. Like I work approximately like 60 hours a week. I've had
Wow.
an I've had a nanny full time. I had a live-in nanny. When the twins were 3 months old, we had a live-in nanny for a year and a half. I don't think I could have survived without my live-in nanny. After that, we've had nannies subsequently for the entire twins' life. And it works for us. It might not work for other people, but that works for us. And so coming to terms with the fact that someone was going to help me raise my children, because that's essentially what my nanny does, is help me raise my children. I had to be okay with that. I never thought I would have a nanny. I never thought I would have someone in my home helping me raise my children, but I love my job too, and I'm obsessed with my job. And I'm the sole income for my household, and so I have to work. It just is what it is. And so when I come to work, when I come to the office, and I'm in my office right now, when I come to work, it's my break. And it's weird to think that work is a break, but my life is chaos at home. And it just
Yeah.
is the way it is. And I come here, I work, I make money to provide for my family, and then I go home and I love my kids. And learning how to be present in those moments. So I'm not with my kids for 8 to 10 hours a day. Okay, I'm at work. So I'm going to be super present at work. But when I go home, shutting that off and being super present with my children, I think that's what makes me a good mom, because even though I only get 2 or 3 hours with them at night or 1 or 2 hours with them in the morning, if I'm super present in those moments, it's so much better than me being there all day long and trying to work or trying to do other things or not being happy. So that works for me, and not judging other moms. Oh my gosh, that's the thing. Don't judge other moms. Don't.
It's so
Just don't.
hard. Yeah. And
Mhm.
everyone's doing it differently. And I don't think you should feel bad in any way that having a nanny. I always think back of like, you know, in the old times, the way they did it was a very family structured event. So like if if you have a baby, you would have your mom and the grandmas and the aunts are all there and like everyone's helping out and everyone's constantly there. And that has moved very far away from where it has started. You know, you're living by yourself, you have the significant other, but they might be at work. So you're kind of physically alone. And
Oh yeah.
so having that actually somebody helping you, you know, if it's your mom, people are like, oh, it's fine. It's just grandma. But if it's a nanny, people get a little confused. Granted, I saw this video of this nanny being like just an awful abusive person to a kid. And so it just like completely tore my heart apart. But if you have this person who you are trusting as you would a family member to
Mhm.
help you to make sure your kids are happy, then I think you're doing a great job, because at the end, that's all we're trying to do is provide them with happiness. And if you weigh out your options of being, hey, if I can be at work, focused at work, but when I'm at home, I'm focusing on my kids, and that's better than me being at home and not actually focusing on them, then they wouldn't get any like you time at all. So it's better to have these incredible, really mom fulfilled hours at night where they're like, hey, we're with mom. We're going to do this and this and this. And they look forward to it.
Yeah.
And somebody's helping you to make sure you can provide for your family.
Yeah, and I feel like becoming a mom has been very humbling. Like I just don't judge. The judgment has gone out the window, because there are some days where I'm the mom in the grocery store yelling at my kids. You know? Like there's just some days. And then when I see another mom having a day, that judgment is completely out the window, because you just don't know what her life looks like. And
Yeah.
motherhood, I I think that in motherhood, it's very easy to be very judgy or very, I don't know the word, just super like, this is the way I do it. So why doesn't everyone else do it that way? But we're all just trying to survive. Like, that's literally it. We're
Yeah.
all just trying to make it, right?
Well, that's what kind of gave me the idea for podcasts to begin with, because I would love for moms to tune in, and I'd love to just talk to so many moms because everyone does do it different. And I want people to tune in and be like, wow, okay, she also does it a little bit similarly to me. And so I'm not alone. I want this alone feeling to go away because we're not alone. Literally, there's so many of us and we're all going through it in a different way. But like, instead of that judgment, because there's just no time for judgment when you're a mom. You're just like, I'm literally busy just trying to stay afloat right now. And
That's what's,
yeah. And so I want this judgment to go away because I post some like videos, whatever, on TikTok. And sometimes I'll get bashed, like just bashed of these mom judgment of like, you know, I was doing something to protect my kid. And they're like, well, you're going to do this wrong. That's not how I did it. That's not how my mom did it. I'm like, what do I care what your mom did it? Like, you're not even my family.
mm-hmm.
And why are you writing me? Like, get off my, just like, we don't do, yeah. Like, I just get so confused. I'm like, why did you spend time leaving me a rude comment? Because of course I'm going to read it. I'm going to feel bad about myself. So, but then I'm going to, you know, like go on like it doesn't matter. But like they start adding up, you know, in the back of your mind. And then you're already questioning yourself. You're already thinking like, am I doing this right? Because none of us know what the heck we're doing. So when you're receiving this kind of just comments or looks or whatever, and you're just like, dang it, I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing it like I've seen someone else do it. And I just want that to go away because, like, we're all, like you said, doing our best. But the most important thing is, like, if our kids are loved, if this is working for our baby, if they go to bed happy, if they are smiling.
Happy, healthy, and fed. That's what I say every night. If I have to work late, if the nanny has to stay longer, if my mom has to watch the kids on a weekend, as long as they're happy, healthy, and fed, good job, mama. You're doing a good job. Like,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And like, we should be sharing tips. We should be sharing ideas. So instead of like, oh, well, you're doing this way. Well, I did it that way. Like, oh, well, you know what? Just like, if you just change your tone, why don't you tell me how you did it in this situation? And I'm ready to listen. But like, if you're just going to ride me, I don't even want to hear you. Like, it's just, you know, also, I don't have to do it your way. Like, if it works for my life and my baby, that's what we're doing.
I feel like Mean Girls, the movie, came out in like 2008, 2009, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like you and me were in an era where the mean girl was a real thing. It was a real thing back in high school. Like,
yeah,
I girl or I experienced a mean girl. And I feel like now that we're all like in our 30s and having babies, we're like, hey, wait, like this isn't cool. Like, we don't need to be the mean girl anymore. Like, let's just support each other and be there for each other. Like, I've talked to so many people that we've went to high school with who like we weren't friends in high school. We went to a really big high school. And it's very refreshing to be like, hey, I see where you're at. I see what you're doing. I'm proud of you. Like, it's just such a better mental state to be in. And the comparing thing, I feel like social media has us constantly comparing ourselves to other people in motherhood, in life, in business, and all the things. And it's like, shit, I'm just trying to get through the day. Like, time. Like,
absolutely. What if there was an app that was like opposite of Instagram? So instead of posting like the filtered, cute staged pictures, it was like, you like you on the toilet, like just breaking down, or like you in the shower, you're like, it's my seventh time crying today.
Trying to pee for 5 minutes. Like, that's my life. That is 100% my life. So,
and just those like, I want to see those hidden things. Cause whenever I do see those moments or I hear those stories, I'm like, oh, you do that too. You tried to have like a second to yourself. Like, man, all right. That's really cool. Cause I do that too. Like, you just, I know. There's like this relief where you're like, we're just doing our best.
It's okay. And the thing with kids, and like, I don't know if this is real or in my head, you get a fresh start every day. You get a fresh start to be the best version of you every single day. and your kids are obsessed. My kids are obsessed with me, like obsessed with me. And I like, sometimes it can be overwhelming, but sometimes it's like, okay, you can mess up and have a bad day. I mess up in motherhood all the time, all day long. I mess up in motherhood, but I think I called my mom and I'm like, did this happen to you too? Like, did you feel this way? Like, did you sit around with your friends drinking a glass of wine, talking about how crazy your kids were? And if I think about what like, I thought my mom had it together the whole time. Like, I
Yeah,
thought my
that's true.
had her shit together. And when I look back, I'm like, I bet she didn't. I bet she did the same things that we're doing right now that I'm like, man, I'm really messing up. Dashel the other day went to sleep in avocado pajamas and he woke up at 2 a.m. telling me that he thought he was getting eaten by a shark because he was an avocado. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have let him wear avocado pajamas. Like, like, what am I
Start
doing
questioning everything. You're just like, why did I even shop for those? What the heck was I
wrong?
thinking?
I got those at Old Navy. Maybe I shouldn't shop at Old Navy anymore. But there's like so many things that go through your head that you're like, I wonder if I woke up at 2 a.m. with a bad dream. And the fact that I was there and present, like that's what I should be focusing on. And the fact that I have friends that I can call or text at 2 a.m. when my children are up at 2 a.m., that's a blessing. I think the mom tribe or the tribe of friends is the only thing that got me through. I really think that having friends or, things like this, an outlet to talk about it is the only thing that made me survive anything really. If I wasn't able to be really open and honest and real about what I was experiencing, I don't think that I could survive. Being put on medication both times after the kids was awful. The medication was awful. The options were awful. There was only one option for nursing with postpartum. Just one. And I hated the way the medication made me feel. It was
Did you
awful.
nurse with the twins?
I did. So
Girl.
with Oakley, I nursed for 18 months and I nursed until he asked me for it. And then I personally wasn't comfortable with continuing nursing at that point. I feel like everyone has a point where I've seen people nurse until they're, 4 or 5 years old, and I don't judge at all. But for me personally, the moment he asked, that was enough for me.
Yeah.
And twins, Dashel had acid reflux really, really bad. And so we made it 6 months, and like nursing too. And especially when they first come home, I think it's every 3 hours they have to eat, right? Or two, maybe. I don't even remember. I blacked it
Two
all
at
out.
first and then.
Yeah. So I would wake up, nurse Lila. She would nurse for like a half hour. I'd put her back to sleep. I'd nurse Dashel for a half an hour, and then I'd sleep for an hour, and then I'd have to wake up and do it again. And
Wow.
so we made it 6 months nursing the twins. And I felt like 6 + 6 is a year. So I made it, right?
Yeah.
But then I had to buy formula, and Dashel had to be on very special formula, and it was very expensive. And I felt like I failed because society tells you that you are supposed to nurse and it's best for the kids, but like fed is best. Them being
Yeah.
fed is best. And I
Absolutely.
just, no judgment whatsoever from me, because that was really freaking hard. It was very hard.
But I would imagine that you had
Yeah,
supplemented
and
from
Oakley,
the beginning, but
no, they didn't. I didn't supplement from the beginning. I
that's
produced
awesome.
enough. I don't know
Wow.
why, but I'm super thankful for that. Like very thankful. But everybody's body is different, and the judgment's out the window for me. Like I don't judge anymore, and
Yeah.
motherhood definitely made that happen. So
It's
yeah.
amazing. Something you talked about is how you, every day you wake up and you can start over. And that's something that I see with my baby because, yeah, like we get into a routine, let's say with her naps or something. And so I expect that tomorrow will be the same. And it's not, because then she just learned something new. So now she's doing something else. And motherhood has taught me that, like, you just adapt. You adapt with the new change. And although you can plan, and I'm similar like you, I like to plan. I like to have the time. I like to know what's going to happen. What if there's parking? What if there's not? Where can I go?
Yeah.
What time? Where are we going to eat? Like I need to know all these things so I can mentally prepare myself for any situation. But with motherhood, you're just like, it just changes. Like, and then once I started realizing that and, accepting it that like, no, tomorrow is actually going to be different. Tomorrow, she's a new person. Although I think I know her, I don't. She might like something new. She might be into something new. She might not want to be close to me. Maybe she wants to be close to me all day. Like, she's growing and learning every single day by hours. And so to have expectations that like it's all going to be the same is unreasonable.
Yeah.
Because it just changes. And as different it is for the baby and the daily life, that's how different it is for every mom. And with you, your 3 babies are all different. Like, you can't judge what you did with Oakley with the twins because they're different people and they have different needs and they had different birthing experiences. Like, all of that is just different, like child by child by child, by day by day by day.
Like, you and I are different. Some days, like, I wake up and I need my coffee immediately, and I have that. And one thing I did with the kids was, and I don't like to give advice to moms because I was so annoyed when people tried to give me advice about my kids. I'm like, just don't, like, I don't want to hear it, like, whatever. But one thing, the best piece of advice I ever got, and I posted about this on social media the other day, was that every child is going to need you to love them differently. And they're going to need you differently in every point in their life. And having multiple children, I feel like that really resonates with me. Like, Dashel is clung to me for the rest of his life. He's mine. Like, if he doesn't live with me till he's 30, I will be shocked. Like, that's just who Dashel is. Lila, my daughter, never needed me for 1 minute. She's like, bye, mom. I'm doing my own thing. We'll play by herself for hours. Oakley is my old soul, very concerned about everyone's well-being and very, engaged with, he's very socially aware. And each of them is so different. But like, as adults, we're all different. And I really treated my kids as adults since they were little. Like, I talked to them like an adult. I let them make choices by themselves. Like, I think that's the best thing I ever did for my kids, was just treated them as human beings and not as children. And the way that they can articulate what they need to me has really helped. It's just been the best thing I've ever done for them. But learning that and recognizing that each of my children are going to need different things from me, that was weird, because you can't parent one child the same way you parent another child. Like, you just can't. And I never expected to have multiple children, and I'm so thankful I do. Like, each of them, like, oh my gosh, they're amazing. I love them. They're exhausting. I'm tired. Like, these bags under my eyes are like permanent forever for life. But I love them so much. They're amazing. They're the best.
Do you think you would have more kids? Or, I mean, I guess you don't like plan for it sometimes. Sometimes it just happens. So I don't know.
Yeah. So that's a question that I have become very aware of, because when I had the twins, they tied my tubes. So I cannot have any more children. And if I were to give anyone advice, I would say don't do it. They're like, yeah, we can tie your tubes. The likelihood of you having twins is significant again. And then me being pregnant with twins, thinking like, oh my gosh, I could have twins again. I don't want 5 children. Like, that's never what I wanted. They said we could do it on the table while we have the C-section. I'm like, okay, do it. I wish I don't want any more children. Like, my cup is full. I have an amazing family. My kids are fantastic. I'm a single mom of 3. Like, I'm good. But not being like, knowing in my head that I can't procreate if I want to. Like, I never expected not to be with my significant other. Like, I never thought that was going to be in the cards for me.
How is that if I can ask, if you want to share about it, you don't have to, but like, it's a whole different thing having somebody who's helping you along, not only physically, but emotionally when it comes to children, and your situation changed. So
yeah.
How are you? What happened? As much as you want to share.
No, I'm super open about it, so I'm totally fine with that. And the kids' dad and I are in a good spot now. I will say, becoming a single mom, I have a very good understanding and a more appreciation for moms who are in a similar spot. My life is really hard, but my life is not as hard as other people's. So like, my job is fantastic. I am able to provide for my family, no problem, which is really good. I think the hardest part of single motherhood is not being able to hand a baby to someone. Like, if the kids wake up in the middle of the night, you're responsible you have to get up with them. You know, there's not someone that can take turns with you. I think that single parenthood is more and more common in this day and age,
Yeah.
which is sad, but also liberating, because I don't think you should stay in a relationship if it's not serving you. I don't think you should stay in a relationship just for the kids. I don't think that you should stay in a relationship if it's abusive. Like, there's several reasons why you shouldn't stay in a relationship. And in my case, I think my kids are in a much better space having a mom and dad that love them separately. My significant other is in a new relationship with someone who has two other kids. And advice is that I always give unsolicited advice, even though I hate unsolicited advice. My advice is, if you are in a split relationship, to try your best to co-parent. Me and my ex's girlfriend communicate, and we have
Okay.
conversations. When I found out he was in a relationship with someone else, I wanted to meet her immediately. And I did. I met her at the park with her two kids and my two kids, and we talked, and it was very hard and it was very emotional. But if someone is going to be in my children's life and loving my children, I feel that I need to know them and know who they
Yeah.
are. And so I did that very early on, and it's hard. It's hard.
I would imagine it's really difficult to try to even conceptualize the fact that another woman is going to give attention to your babies.
Yeah.
That they, of course, they're not going to see her in a mom role. You're the mom. But those thoughts creeping that, like, another woman besides you is going to give love to your kids. Like,
It's like this. It's an emotional roller coaster. It's like, okay, she loves them, and I'm super glad. I'm so thankful for the amount of people that love my children. The more people that love my children, the merrier. But it's also like, she's not me. What is she teaching them? So
yeah.
you go like this. But I found that if you are in an area where you can co-parent successfully, I think that's much easier than not. You know what I mean? Like, just being distraught all the time. And it was really hard, and it was sad, and it was overwhelming, and I cried a lot. I still cry. I'm still sad. I thought I was going to marry the person that I had children with. I thought we were going to have a life together, and we're not. And so that's overwhelming. And then also, I think that the single parenthood and things that we don't talk about are the small things, like the mundane things that you wouldn't think about that would crush your soul. I went to lunch the other day, and it was like a month ago. And she's like, I said, table for four. She's like, oh, is your husband joining you? I'm like, no, I don't have a husband. And she's like, oh, so just you guys. And I'm like, yep, just us. And like, she didn't mean it in any kind of way.
Of course.
But
But hearing that reminder, it's
yeah,
just stabby. Little
a ping,
stabby
you
at
know?
you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. So just things like that, or like the waking up in the middle of the night, or at daddy's house, we can do this, or, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and here's the thing about splitting time, because we do pretty much split time. I have sole custody, but we pretty much split time. And if like I have a work thing, he'll cover for me, or if he has something come up, I'll cover for him. But I hate it when people say, like, my husband's watching the baby. No, your husband's not watching the baby. Like, that's their kid too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's their responsibility. Or he's babysitting. No, they're not babysitting. Like,
They're not the nanny. They don't get paid for it. This is their responsibility.
exactly.
It's
Like,
part of the job.
their kid. I know. I hate it when people say that, but because of, so I don't know. It's hard. Like, I don't want to cry on a podcast, but I would cry on a podcast. Like, it's sad. It's sad that I thought I was going to raise my kids with this person, but they have a whole nother life without me when I'm not there. Yeah. And I thought I would be devastated when they would go with their dad. And don't get me wrong, I have nights where I'm completely by myself and I don't have my kids, and I am devastated, but I also get a break. So on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, I take my late appointments. I take my late clients. I get to go on a date with my boyfriend that night. And you just learn to adapt. I don't think that the feeling that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with someone will ever go away. I don't think that'll ever go away. Like 2 years in, I don't think that'll ever go away. But I have a boyfriend now. So having a boyfriend that understands that and is aware, like, hey, I really missed my family today. Or...
Did your kids dad meet your new boyfriend similarly like you met the girlfriends? And then I
Oh,
also wanted to, well, let's see about, I have another second question also, but
my new boyfriend is actually an old friend, someone who was
okay.
a friend prior to being my boyfriend. So my kids' dad already knew him, and
Okay.
my kids' dad said, "Hey, I think he's a great guy. When you're ready to have them in your kids' life, like I support it." He's not in my kids' life though. And that's a personal decision for me right now. I'm just not ready to watch someone else parent my kids. And we've been together for a while, and it's just for me personally, and everybody's different and everyone takes this in stride. I'm not ready to introduce someone into my kids' life unless I know for sure it's going to be forever. And I'm not saying it's not going to be forever. I'm just, my time with my kids is very important to me. So he's not in my kids' life at the moment. Andrew, my ex, chose to introduce his significant other, and she's completely in my kids' life and my life. And that was his personal decision. So,
Do you think it was easier for you? Not that it's in any way easy, but the fact that she also had kids, and so you guys had some sort of common ground, and knowing that motherhood anxiety and worry that happens, do you think that made it a little easier on you to accept that somebody else will be a part of your kid's life, and versus if she didn't, if it was just like a girl who wasn't a mom yet, now kind of walking into a position of
yeah. So I met Nicole at the park with her kids and my kids. And what I noticed was her kids were very comfortable with her. And she parented similarly to the way that I do. I think that even with my nannies, I think that having someone in my kids' life who is a mom, because I've had nannies who weren't moms before, like 20 somethings that don't have kids, because they've been through it and know how to parent, it makes me feel a little bit better. I think Nicole is great. Andrew's girlfriend. I think you always have the tinge of that used to be my man sort of thing.
sure.
But I think Nicole is a fantastic mom, and we've gone through it as you can imagine. But um, I think that ultimately, like I said, she's doing the best she can as a mom. And now they have 5 kids to try to raise at once. And I don't wish that on anyone. But like I if I need something, I call Nicole. And it's weird for me. And I told her the other day, I said, "Hey, this is still really weird for me." And it's been almost a year that they've been together. I said, "This is really weird and this is really hard for me, but I'd rather co-parent than not." And
Because again, it's
so
for the benefit of your kids. And I'm sure in her situation, I don't know it, but I would imagine she feels like she doesn't want to do the wrong thing around your kids or say the wrong thing because then she's not their mom. She's, and so for her, it might be like walking on eggshells where she's like, I don't want to do the wrong thing. I don't want to mess up this relationship I have with Ashlee. I don't
yep.
want to, and so I'm sure she has her own hardships where she had her own 2 kids and now she's got 5 all of a sudden. So she's like, she's really
And
got to put herself on the back burner here.
she's been through it too. Like she had a baby daddy and then isn't with him anymore. And I
Mm.
guess Andrew and my ex and her kids' dad have a good relationship. And I know Andrew and Nicole would be super comfortable with me having this conversation on this podcast because I talk about it on mine. But ultimately, I think that as long as my kids are happy, healthy, and fed, I'm okay. I'm
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
You're a good mom.
Thank you. I think
You're
you're
a good mom. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying. I think we're
You're
all,
doing your best.
yeah. I love them. They're really cute. Your baby's super cute too.
Thank you. I'm the obsessed mom. I'm totally obsessed.
Okay?
What'd you say?
Are you okay? Are you
Yeah,
okay?
I'm good. I went through like the roller coasters as well. And something that helped me was one of my friends, we got closer through motherhood, but she had a baby um like 10 weeks after me. And then we added another friend of hers who had a baby 5 weeks after me. So it was like 5 weeks, 10 weeks. And we started just talking through just Instagram and just,
Hmm.
hey, I'm up at 4 a.m. because the baby won't sleep. Me either. Oh, you know what really helped me? I put this thing in the crib. Oh, you know what helped me? We tried this. Oh, you know what helped me? Check out this gadget. Oh, you know what? And for the first 5 months. We talked daily. We just checked in. Hey, are you
Mhm.
okay? Why don't you go take a shower? Why don't you ask your significant other to watch the baby? Like, just, or send these like memes or poems or stories that like just
That
keep you
you're trying
going.
so important.
Yeah. And so when you were talking about yours, I'm like, that's such a key to be able to find that group. And if it can be within that, they're expecting similarly at the similar time, or they just had a baby or about like, because they're kind of going through those things. And you can, unsolicited advice, but you can like share some things that like worked for you or didn't work for you, and be like, we tried that didn't work, or hey, my baby's also experiencing the same thing. This is what helped us, maybe could help you. And especially during those, I feel like the first 3 months are really just chaotic, but the first 6, you still don't know what you're doing. How is everything going? Things are really changing, and there's not anyone that helps.
Well, I feel like with Oakley, I wasn't super open to letting people help with my first kid. I was like, I got it. But round 2/3, because I had round 2 and 3 at the same time, I'm like, come on, you're helping me. Like,
Anybody and everybody, come on in.
especially as a single mom, like my friends and one of my best friends' husbands, like he stepped up. Like he didn't have to. Like my best friend invited me over for dinner and he just loves my kids and like I get to hang out with my best friend and he like handles our kids for us. Like he understands that I'm a single mom and like I need a minute and I get to hang out with my best friend and he watches all the kids. And I'm
That's
like,
so nice.
or like we went to Great Wolf Lodge and we're all swimming and he takes my oldest and teaches them how to swim. Like I don't think I could have made it without my best friend or her husband just being like, hey, this is the position that Ash is in right now. We're all stepping up. And I feel like I wasn't aware that if I raised my hand and say, hey, I need help, the amount of people that would come to me willing to help. I think it's
Mm,
almost a sense of failure to say, hey, I need help. But in motherhood, like the more help, the better. Like
yeah.
that's just accept the help.
I
That's
think
like,
you're so, so right. And I think now that you've mentioned it, I can see myself how, because I tend to be really proud
mhm.
and like a
And
go-getter, and I can do
you
things. So
should.
I'm like, no, I got this, and with the mom guilt, I'm like, no, I can do this all by myself. And I'm really thankful for my husband's mom,
Mhm,
because she loves babies.
mhm,
She loves our baby like no one else does. And she like when we got out of the hospital, she was at our house, she made dinner. So I didn't even have to worry about dinner. She would
mhm.
check in on us daily, weekly. Uh and she right now she's the one that's watching Paisley to make, so I have time to do stuff. And if I have to get something done, I know I can call her, text her, and she'll be right here. Like, and she just, I know that that she's watching her and she loves her. So I don't worry that what if my
Mhm.
baby needs me? What if I need to get, like, I'm not stressing out about it. She just, and she offered that help. I didn't, sometimes I do need to ask for it, and I've gotten better at it. But the fact that she said, hey, I'm just gonna be right here. You don't even like, but if you need to hold the baby so you can go shower, if you, and I started out with like, hey, she might need this or
That's
she might need
great.
that. She's like, I've done babies, but like tell me what it is that you need me to hear so you feel better. But like she she was so gentle with letting me know that can let go at my own time, and just being there. So then I was
Mhm.
like, oh, can you help me? Can you help me? Or can you do this? Can you like, I feel so close to her now. I feel like she's my, like, I love my mom and she's absolutely
Mhm.
amazing, but my husband's mom has become a mom to me. Like,
Yeah.
not a mother-in-law, like, she's my mom, and she is a grandma to this baby and just loves her. And she helped me ask for help and not feel bad about it, because it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, and I think society like says like you have to, and in this world like most of us have to work in some capacity, like whether it be you're an influencer on social media or you have a full-time job or you have a part-time job. We have two working households for the most part, and but then we're also damned for working and not being home with our kids, and so it's super overwhelming. And I feel like raising our hand and saying, hey, yo, like, I'm not okay. A, B, I need help. Can you help me? Like, being able to do that is just going to help your kids so much more. Like,
Because
don't.
then you're going to be that happy mom. Like if you just need 15 minutes for somebody to hold the baby so you can just go shower just to feel fresh again because you haven't showered in 3 days, like it's the small things. Or if you just, hey, can you hold the baby so I can just enjoy this coffee before it gets cold? Because the coffee gets cold, but I just want the 10 minutes to myself.
Coffee, no one.
Yes, thank you. Like the amount of coffee cups I have left with cold coffee is uncountable. Or like sometimes this is so dumb, but I just want 5 minutes to like scroll dumbly through my phone. Like
Have you
just
dropped your phone on your baby yet? Have you done it? Have you
do
dropped
it.
your phone on their face yet?
Okay, so not quite, but we were walking down the stairs and I fell down the stairs with my baby. So I like dropped the baby. Well, I didn't drop her. She was in my hands, but then I felt bad because I'm like, what if I squished her too hard? What if I was squeezing her because I was worried that she was going to fall? And like, I laid down. My husband was home, thankfully, because he was able to like run over. And I was like, just grab the baby. I'm like in tears because I don't know if I hurt her. I don't know if she's hurt. Am I hurt? And I'm like, my legs are twisted. And I'm like, grab the baby. And he just grabs the baby, making sure she was okay. And then I was like in shock more so that like I just dropped down. And so I'm like, let me recover. And then I'm coming to the baby and she was fine. But then I'm like, I'm sorry. It was so sudden. Like you've never fell down the stairs before. And now here we are. And like, it's even funnier because when I was little, I was counting flies and I fell down the stairs and my mom had to run me to the hospital. So I have this fear of my baby falling down the stairs. And then I fall down the stairs with my baby, like, of course. And we had these like 2 baby gates and we're just like, let's take them down right now. We're not walking around them correctly. Like it was just this isn't going to happen. This isn't doing it for us. But it was such a ordeal because I was like, I was doing this to protect my baby, but now I'm down the stairs with the baby. Like,
One thing, and then my phone is going to die because I've been talking to you for an hour and I'm the worst at charging my phone at night. Another mom hack because I don't charge my phone because my kids climb into bed with me and I want them to get tangled. It's a whole fear, irrational fear, but whatever.
It's
anyway,
rational. I
went live on Instagram while I was nursing the twins. And I was just scrolling and I've definitely dropped my phone on my kids' head. Like, no shame. It's happened. When you're nursing twins, you're constantly nursing. And like, what else are you supposed to do? Yeah. Drop the phone. But I'm like nursing and I'm scrolling and all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up. They're like, Ashlee, you're nursing live on Instagram. And I'm like, first of all, like I use social media for business. Like I get a lot of business off of social media. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Definitely full on live of me like this, nursing, like everything. You could see everything. So epic motherhood fail, but I feel like we're doing it. So we got this. We totally got this.
Those are the stories that we get to share with them when they're older. And then when they're going through their problems, when they're mothers, you know, with the girls, you can be like, hey, you did this. Don't worry. Because when you were little. Yeah. We went live, or I dropped mine down the stairs. So
I dropped mine out of bed. Oakley fell out of bed when he was a year old, nursing, bounced. And I got up, rushed him to the hospital, and the doctor laughed at me and was like, you know, babies can bounce, right? He's okay. And I'm like,
but you worry. You're just like, that's the one thing they tell you not to do is don't drop the baby. And then you go and it's just like, I could have done better.
Because we worry, we're good moms. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Ashlee, thank you for joining me. I'd love to talk to you again if you ever want to, because I feel like there's just so much we could talk about. But thank you for joining me. And girl, what a pleasure.
Yeah, it was fun to catch up. We need to like talk more. I would love to hear more about your side of the story because we only talked about mine. And yeah, I'd love to do that.
I love hearing it. Yeah, I'd love to have you on again. We'll figure out a time. But thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Of course. Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. I'll see you guys next time.